As most of you know, Patrick Star loves to eat, and I mean seriously, this guy loves to eat. But it seems one of his favorite meals is a good old-fashioned Krabby Patty. And this is really shown in the season 9 episode, What's Eating Patrick, as he enters into a Krabby Patty eating competition. And boy oh boy does it make for a great episode. As you can guess though, based off of the title of this video, this episode is not perfect, as at the beginning of the episode, when Mr. Krabs realizes that Patrick should join the competition, there is a brief shot where the order here sign is missing its text. And the very next shot it's there, but during this one shot, it's just missing. Like the sign is there, but the text isn't. Keep in mind, it seems that this mistake is only present in early airings of the episode, so that's good. Anyways though, here's a clip of the mistake with audio.
Oh, if only there was someone dumb and hungry enough to take on old Oswald McNulty.
I'll just have 47 Krabby Patties, please. I had a big breakfast, so I'm not that hungry. Squidward, did you get a new haircut?
Ah, dumb and hungry. Hey! If it isn't Patrick!
I isn't Patrick?
No, of course you are.
One fairly cool episode from season 6 is Spongekiss, an episode all about Plankton turning the chum bucket into a classic old school coliseum that ends up stealing away all of the Krusty Krab's most loyal customers. So of course, Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob head over to see what is going on, only to find out that Patrick fighting a sea lion is the main event of the entire show. SpongeBob's worried because Patrick is going to potentially die. Now the mistake in question happens earlier in the episode and has to do with Mr. Krabs. So during this shot, as you can see, Mr. Krabs' design is how it normally is, with his clothing having a white undershirt. Right here, as you can see, that little triangle is white. Well, during one scene in this episode, there's a brief shot where that undershirt is just like black or gray for Mr. Krabs, which isn't that big of a deal, but is totally a mistake. Here's a clip.
What's the matter, boy?
I think Plankton wants to destroy our way of life!
Man alive! He's taking us down! Huh? Plankton's destroying the chum bucket? I guess he's finally given up on the restaurant business.
In the season 4 episode, Fear of a Krabby Patty, Plankton has a new and fairly clever plan, with him convincing Mr. Krabs to change the Krusty Krab's hours to 24 hours, all in the hopes of it exhausting SpongeBob overworking him, thus giving Plankton the perfect opportunity to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula. Pretty clever. Well, this eventually does kind of work, with SpongeBob becoming so dead and exhausted that he starts to see things that aren't real, like Mr. Krabs turning into a Krabby Patty. Now, the mistake in question is something we've covered many times before in different episodes, and has to do with Plankton's iconic restaurant, the Chum Bucket. As during this scene, the path that connects the Krusty Krab to the Chum Bucket, this path, is missing when it should be visible based on numerous other episodes, right? So yeah, definitely a mistake, and here's a clip with audio.
Couldn't we get to work earlier than 6 a.m.? Like 5:30 a.m.? Or 5 a.m.? Or 4 a.m.? Or
Zip it. What the? The chum bucket can open 23 hours? So, that little piece of flotsam Plankton thinks he can stay open longer than me, does he?
Sure. I don't know. Why not?
Well, he's wrong!
In the episode, Money Talks, Mr. Krabs, being the greedy man that he is, makes a wish that he could talk to his money. And to his surprise, the wish comes true, but it's at a cost, as the Flying Dutchman grants his wish in exchange for his soul. It's actually really funny because Mr. Krabs eventually goes a little crazy when his money talks and constantly tells him that it wants to be spent and not hoarded. Yeah, talk about an interesting episode. Now, early on in this episode is where we can spot our mistake, as when these two incidentals are thrown out of the Krusty Krab, Incidental 83, also known as Old Man Walker, loses his face? I mean, his mouth is still there, but what happened to his eyes and glasses? Yeah, talk about an odd mistake. Here's a clip with audio.
99.
Don't rush me, woman!
Perhaps this will speed up the process.
How will that help them chew faster?
SpongeBob! What's the problem?
No problem. I was just telling this customer he has to wait for his favorite table.
$5 if I get the table now.
My hip.
Enjoy your meal. Let me know if you need anything else.
In the episode House Sitting for Sandy, SpongeBob gladly accepts to house sit Sandy's tree dome. Well, she's away, and while all is quiet at first, this quickly changes when Patrick arrives, yes, Patrick for a visit, and causes absolute chaos, which eventually results in the tree dome getting destroyed. Yeah, this episode is pretty wild. I recommend it. Now, don't worry, they figure it out by the end of the episode, and everything works out for Sandy. But if we rewind back to this scene, there is actually a mistake, and I know you missed it. When Sandy is giving SpongeBob a rundown of what to do while she's gone, there are a few frames where the patch normally found on her suit is just missing, thus making for an awkward little mistake.
And last but not least is my collection of rare and fragile artifacts that has to be cleaned twice daily. Now, are you sure you can handle all that, SpongeBob?
As most of you know, Mrs. Puff has been trying to teach SpongeBob to drive for years. It's been like 23 years at this point of her giving SpongeBob driving lessons, and the dude always fails. So, in the episode Tutor Sauce, Mr. Krabs decides that it's his time to give SpongeBob a lesson, and, well, this happens.
I'm sorry, Mr. Krabs. Oh, I can't even cry right.
There. Failing your driver's test is nothing to cry over.
Oh,
How much do they charge you this driving school of yours?
about $100 a semester.
$100 a semester? Why, I could do it for double the price in half the time. I taught me own daughter Pearl how to drive like a little angel.
Hi, Daddy!
This empty parking lot is just the ticket. Like every young person, a novice bowler needs plenty of open, obstacle-free space.
Mr. Krabs, you're so wise.
Can't disagree with you there. All right, put her in gear.
Rookie mistake, right?
I suppose so.
Yeah, no offense, Mr. Krabs, but not only are you a terrible boss, but you're also not a very good driving instructor. Mrs. Puff is way better than you, but anyways, let's get into the mistakes in this episode. There's two. Here's the first one. Keep those eyes peeled.
Now slowly inch forward.
Inch, 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 inch.
Oh, broken wall. That's about 15,000. Lawsuits. Oh, that's a lot of zeros. All right, Krabs, get hold of yourself. You've been in worse fixes than this. Look at that face.
So take a look at this shot here. Most of the Grapple gang probably already knows where this is going, but this is the inside of the Krusty Krab. And as always, as you can see, there is the Galley Grub menu, the menu with all the food on it, and the order here sign. But in this one shot of Tutor Sauce, they're missing, which is a nasty mistake. And there's more. Here's mistake number 2, which is very similar, but let's see if you guys can catch it.
A little trip down the street to Patrick's house. That was just fine. But next time, wait until I say put her into gear.
You missed one.
It happens really fast, but when Squidward says, "You missed one," the Galley Grub is misspelled as G-A-L-L-Y Grub. Normally it's spelled as G-A-L-L-E-Y, as you can see right here. That's like the proper spelling, but I guess the animators forgot how to spell because they didn't include the E. Anyways though, these first two mistakes were kind of weak sauce, guys. Let's move over to episode number 2, which has even crazier mistakes. Let's do this. Our first mistake can be found in a season 5 episode, the original Fry Cook. And I gotta say, this is probably my favorite season 5 episode to come out of the entire season. In this episode, SpongeBob starts to feel a little inferior when a famous former Krusty Krab fry cook named Jim visits his old stomping grounds. Jim used to work at the Krusty Krab years ago, and we even get this cool flashback showing us how he looked back when he was younger, years ago. Well, this flashback actually has a lot to do with our mistake, as during the episode, we get to see Jim's Best Employee Award. However, the award depicts him in his present-day appearance, even though it should have depicted him in his younger appearance, the same appearance we seen in the flashback, since the award is from years ago. So yeah, definitely a mistake here. It's a bit complicated, but here's a clip with audio.
This place had class.
Don't worry, Jim. No one could ever take your place. The original is still underneath. Your Best Employee Ever Award.
Our next mistake can be found in the Season 8 special, A SquarePants Family Vacation. In this episode, SpongeBob invites Mr. Krabs, Pearl, Sandy, Mrs. Puff, Larry, Squidward, and Plankton to watch a slideshow of his family vacation to the Great Barrier Reef. And in this slideshow, we see that SpongeBob, his parents, and Patrick go on a little bit of a road trip. Now, this is actually a pretty good episode, especially for Season 8, which is a little iffy, so I recommend it. And hey, it was really nice to see SpongeBob's mom and dad back on the show. But the episode is not perfect. During this scene, when SpongeBob says, "For a second, I thought it was some scary monster coming to eat us," his left arm just completely disappears for about a frame. It just disappears. It then, in another scene, goes behind his back, but this shot in particular is really bad, where he just has no arm. So yeah, here's a clip with audio.
Well, 'cause if you ask someone with a watch, they might be able to tell you.
Are you getting hungry?
Yeah, how'd you know?
Oh, I could hear your stomach growling. I thought for a second it might be some kind of scary monster coming to eat us.
That's funny.
As most of you know, our favorite squid, Squidward Tentacles, absolutely loves to dance. However, he isn't alone in the Season 5 episode, Slimy Dancing, with SpongeBob and Patrick participating with him in a dance contest. Well, they try, as in the end, both Patrick and Squidward are not able to compete, only SpongeBob is. But due to Squidward wanting the trophy so bad, like he really wants it, he literally goes inside SpongeBob's body and uses his body as a costume, just so he can compete in the contest. Quite the ridiculous plot, but hey, it's still pretty darn funny, and a really fun episode overall. It does have a mistake though. It's pretty rough, but when SpongeBob and Patrick help Squidward get up from the floor, Patrick's mouth, his whole mouth, is missing for a single frame. I don't know where it went. It does come back, but talk about a rough mistake. Here's a clip.
SpongeBob?
You're just not getting into the spirit of this thing, Squidward.
Oh, help me out.
How'd the audition go, Squidward?
The audition? My trophy?
Okay, so I love this next episode. It's called The Executive Treatment, and it's so interesting because it's a Patrick episode. This is before Patrick got his own show, and you can actually see little bits of the Patrick Star Show in this episode. Anyways, here's some clips. It's a good episode.
Hey, how's that new executive treatment sandwich treating you? Because it's hitting all the quadrants of my hunger markets.
Quadrants.
You know, it reminds me of something I was saying about business the other day.
The satisfaction earnings of the fourth quarter of my lunch are off the charts. I guess I'll have one of these business sandwiches everybody's talking about.
Carl, what are you doing standing around at a time like this? We're going to be late for the big brainstorming meeting.
What do you give a disappointed stockholder to make him feel better?
A sandwich?
Dude, like I said, it's a really good episode. I love Patrick episodes, and I actually think the Patrick Star Show is underrated. People like to just hate on that show, but anyways, I'm getting off track. Let's get to the mistake. Take a look at this. Keep those eyes peeled.
Surprise for you! Where'd he go? You can't fire me! I'm not an executive at all! So go ahead! Send me away forever as a corporate spy if you want to, but not before I've had my say!
So, this is the character Marv. He has a prominent role in this episode, and at one point, he stamps void on Patrick's head and he's sent home, okay? Remember this, Marv is sent home, but then he's seen again after Patrick reveals that he's not an executive. So like, talk about a strange continuity error. Like the dude was sent home, but I guess the animators forgot about this plot point and then drew him again despite the fact that he was sent home. So, bad mistake. Anyways, let's move over to episode number 4. Season 5 is very hit or miss for me, but one episode I did enjoy was Blackjack, an episode all about SpongeBob panicking and worrying that his notorious cousin Blackjack is after his family. Now, one of the reasons that I personally really like this episode so much is due to us getting another really good look at the SquarePants family. With SpongeBob visiting his parents' house, his grandmother's house, you guys know I love Graham SquarePants, and even a new character, his uncle, Captain Blue SquarePants. And this is actually where we can find our mistake, with it revolving around good old Blue SquarePants' house. As you can see, during this shot, Blue has grass around his house, by his garage. It's really important to watch by his garage, you can see it right here. Well, later on, when SpongeBob returns to Blue's house, his outside is completely different, with there now being sand beside the garage instead of grass, thus making for a really weird continuity error. I know SpongeBob does cut the grass at one point, but it wouldn't turn the grass into like sand. So yeah, here's a clip with audio.
Uncle Captain Blue, I need your help.
Well, if it isn't little SpongeBob. Plan a firm one on me, Bobby.
I need you to help me rescue my parents.
Sure, little Bobby. I could use some help with the lawn, but you're gonna need this to do the job right.
Uncle Captain Blue, I need to help my parents. They're in danger.
When SpongeBob and Patrick go visit Sandy to show her their new back scratcher, in the episode Chimps Ahoy, Sandy is really stressed out. She's really stressed due to her bosses, the Chimps, coming in that afternoon to see if she's invented anything worthwhile. Well, fortunately for Sandy, SpongeBob and Patrick do their best to try and help her and come up with a back scratching, hair combing, nose picking, ukulele tuner. A real work of art, I guess. Now, in the end, the Chimps love the invention, once they learn that it can peel bananas. You know, they're chimps, so it makes sense. And because of this, everything works out. However, we're here to spot, like, mistakes, so let's rewind back to this scene and find one. As when we first see Sandy's guitar, it is only drawn with 3 tuning pegs. It's supposed to have 6, or 4 if it's a ukulele, but in this scene it only has 3. However, when we see it again like moments later, it now magically has a 4th one, and has 4 tuning pegs, thus making for a sneaky little continuity error. Here's a clip.
Oh, I give up. I'll never invent anything.
So long, Bikini Bottom. I can't leave without a goodbye. But please don't think bad of me if I start to cry.
Oh, I really wish Sandy were here.
All aboard!
Will this bus take you somewhere when you've got nowhere else to go?
Oh, it sure does. We make stops in Quittersville, Failure Town, and Loserburg.
Our next mistake can be found in another season 13 episode, obviously because of the title of the video, and that's Upturn Girls. Now real quickly, we've covered this episode a lot recently, as the episode has a lot of Easter eggs in it, so if you've heard us talk about this episode recently, that's why. What we're going to be talking about today though is a completely new mistake that we haven't discussed before. So yeah, let's get into it. Now the mistake happens really fast and it's early on in the episode, but before Pearl asks for the diamond card from Mr. Krabs, our favorite Mr. Crab is missing his pants. They're gone. I mean, it's not like he's completely naked or something, just given the angle of the shot, you should be able to see Mr. Krabs' pants, but you can't. So it's definitely a mistake. Also, this one isn't that big of a deal, but although Pearl says that she has never cooked a Krabby Patty before in this episode, she's actually wrong, because she's seen cooking them in the episode Welcome to the Bikini Bottom Triangle, thus making for a bit of a continuity error. That or Pearl just forgot. I don't know. Who knows? Anyways though, here's a clip of both mistakes with audio.
If we want to do that loitering thing in the city, I'll need an advance on my allowance. Oh, Daddy! Yeah.
All right, here you go.
Oh, Dad, we can't have a Whales Day out with your balsa wood card. We need the Diamond Unlimited.
My diamond.
What are you doing here?
Oh, nothing, SpongeBob. Just trying to juggle schoolwork, having a social life, and running the family business, that's all.
Drama queen.
What's the hold up in there? You're acting like you never cooked a Krabby Patty before.
Yeah, Dad, that's because I never have cooked a Krabby Patty before.
I think we can all agree that Mr. Krabs is a terrible boss. He overworks his employees, he's greedy, he's even a bad dad. But in the episode Company Picnic, he decides to do something nice. Take a look at these clips.
Just watch out because here it comes.
Oh, what now? Too much weeing. What is... Oh, pickle juice! What's going on in here?
Just in time, Mr. Squidward. You're about to go on the greatest company picnic ever!
A company picnic, eh? That gives me an idea. Well, I guess things will pick up once the food gets here.
Right you are. Here's the food. See, you open it with your teeth. There. Isn't that fun? Company picnic? That's not how you spell company picnic.
Yes, who?
Plankton.
See, I like this episode because Mr. Krabs actually was trying to do something genuine, but then Plankton comes along and messes everything up. But the animators also made a few mistakes in this episode, not just Mr. Krabs or Plankton. Let's take a look at them.
I'm out of here. See ya. You can never have too many. Hey, Squiddy Bird.
I've got a plate. It's made of paper. It's a paper plate.
Okay, so at one point of this episode, we get to see these two stuffed walruses, okay? And as you can see, their tusks are yellow, their bodies are orange. Remember this, it's very important. Well, when SpongeBob hears Squidward, Mr. Krabs, and Plankton laughing together, the two stuffed walruses, now their tusks are orange. Originally, they looked like this, they were yellow. Now they're orange, which is a very weird mistake. I'm nitpicking, but like, I don't even know how this mistake happened. When SpongeBob and an executive chef trade jobs in a cultural exchange program, in the episode La Big Switch, SpongeBob does not start out very well with his new establishment, as the owner is really rude to him and only wants him to cook items that are not Krabby Patties. From here, the owner continues to give SpongeBob a hard time. That is until he actually tries a Krabby Patty, realizing how delicious it tastes. And from here, things go well, with SpongeBob completing the program successfully. It's a neat episode that I recommend watching, but of course, we're here to spot mistakes, so let's talk about some mistakes. When SpongeBob puts the bag of Krabby Patties in his briefcase, The bag is colored as red. As you can see here, it's red. However, if you look closely during the next shot, the bag has magically changed to brown, making for something that isn't that big of a deal. But it's still a mistake. Like, this is a mistake. I guess, red to brown isn't that big of a change, but it's a mistake. Here's a clip.
These babies also belong to the Krusty Krab. So long!
Oh, wait, just one more.
I'm sorry, but I got to go.
In the episode, The Thing, Squidward's day is ruined yet again by SpongeBob and Patrick, who force their way into his house just so that they can watch TV with him. Squidward tries his best to deal with his neighbors calmly, but after they constantly talk during the show, he eventually leaves his own house for some fresh air and ends up covered in cement. Talk about an awful day. Heading back to the beginning of the episode though, and we can spot a mistake, as when we see this shot of Patrick's house, something seems to be missing. That's right, the path normally found in front of Patrick's rock home, like the path that leads to his house, is missing in The Thing during this scene. And it's weird because it's been in like every episode prior, so again, definitely a mistake, and here's a clip.
It's too quiet. Something isn't right around here.
When SpongeBob discovers that Squidward has ordered a female purebred racing snail in Season 3's The Great Snail Race, he gets a little too competitive and enters his own pet, Gary, into the race, eventually coaching him to the point of exhaustion. It's actually like really sad. Now, at one point in the episode, we get a close-up shot where we can see an exhausted Gary laying on the ground. And if you look closely, you'll notice that SpongeBob's pants are incorrectly blue, when they're actually supposed to be red, as seen in every other scene of the episode. So yeah, a very clear mistake here.
Let's go, Gary! Start moving! You're blowing everything we trained for! Blowing it! Gary, are you listening to me? Get the anchors out of your pants right now! Don't give me that look! I said now, mister! Get going, Gary!
Our last mistake on today's list is from the episode To Love a Patty. This episode focuses on SpongeBob falling in love with a Krabby Patty. Yeah, as you can imagine, it's a fairly weird episode. It's good, but it's really weird. Let's talk about some mistakes though. Now, during this scene, there is a huge mistake that a lot of people miss. When SpongeBob says, "Oh, Patty," when we're together, his white teeth turn yellow for a second. I know we've talked about this type of mistake before, but this one's new, and it's disgusting. SpongeBob, go brush your teeth. Pretty gross.
What's cooking there, Patty? Oh, are you kidding? I love crepes. Oh, Patty, when we're together, I feel like we're in our own little world. Like nothing can hurt us.
In the episode Crabborg, SpongeBob stays up late one night to watch a horror film, where robots take over the world, and as a result of this, he becomes paranoid, and at work, he begins to think that Mr. Krabs is actually a secret evil robot. Well, eventually, he also convinces Squidward to help him, and they soon think that robots have really taken over the entire world. It's ridiculous, but it's also pretty darn funny, so go give the episode a watch if you haven't. Anyways though, on to the mistake, and I will say this one is kind of weird, so listen carefully, okay? During this scene, Mr. Krabs is tied to a chair, and look behind the chair. There's like the back part of the chair, right? Again, this is a weird mistake. Well, in this shot of the same scene, that part of the chair is just gone. It just disappears randomly, but then in the next scene, it comes back. So a bit of a weird mistake here, and I don't know how the animators forgot to draw the back of the chair during this one scene, but they didn't. So yeah.
Where's Mr. Krabs?
What are you talking about? I'm Mr. Krabs.
We can do this all night if you want. Where's Mr. Krabs?
I'm Mr. Krabs.
Where's Mr. Krabs?
Where's Mr. Krabs?
I am Mr. Krabs. I am.
This is one stubborn robot.
What? You think I'm a robot?
Our first mistake can be found in the Season 9 episode, Plankton's Pet. In this episode, Plankton, as you can imagine, is attempting to steal the coveted Krabby Patty secret formula yet again. But this yet again fails miserably and results in Plankton being launched to the doors of the chum bucket. From here, a very depressed Plankton is convinced by Karen to get a pet, and with the help of SpongeBob, Plankton gets a pet amoeba and names him Spot. Now, this is a pretty good Season 9 episode, but of course it isn't perfect, as right as Plankton is about to land in front of the chum bucket after being kicked out of the Krusty Krab by Mr. Krabs, the road that usually connects the Krusty Krab to the chum bucket is not there, despite being featured in numerous episodes before this one. So yeah, definitely a mistake. Here's a clip.
Face it, Plankton. You're never gonna win. I'll always be one step ahead. Now, why don't you go back to where you came from, you little brat? Uh-oh.
How dare you!
Oh, Didums fail to get a Krabby Patty again?
Our next mistake is from another episode we covered recently, but the mistake or error is completely new, and it's actually worse. So yeah, in the episode, The Algae's Always Greener, Plankton uses his new invention to swap lives with Mr. Krabs. And as you can imagine, it makes for a really good plot, with Plankton slowly learning that Mr. Krabs' life isn't as cracked up as he thinks. Now, the mistake in question is really easy to miss, so pay close attention. But during this scene, where the show uses a bubble transition, a blue screen with the date of May 29th, 2001 by Rough Draft Korea can briefly be shown within the transition, thus making for a pretty brutal mistake. Again, it's easy to miss, but whoever animated this episode being Rough Draft Korea, they shouldn't have had that in there, so definitely a mistake. Here's a clip.
What a brilliant idea! Your parents must have been like part computer or something. Now let's see here. No. Aha! Well, I hate to leave you, Karen, but you know what they say, a rolling stone gathers no algae.
And last but not least is the episode There Will Be Grease, another episode we've covered a few times recently, but the mistake is completely new. It's a fresh mistake. In this episode, Mr. Krabs and Plankton team up after they realize that underneath their restaurants, there is a wealth of miracle grease. They take this stuff and market it as a product, and it goes on to be fairly successful, with them even making a song for it called Everything's Juice, or Everything Juice. Now, during the performance of this song, there is a brief frame where Plankton's eye disappears for the entire frame. Considering Plankton only has one eye, this is a very blatant mistake, but hey, mistakes happen sometimes, and the episode is still an awesome episode.
Hey there, mister. Would you like to know about a very special something?
When Squidward decides to treat himself to a nose job, SpongeBob drives him to the hospital to get it. Just unfortunately for Squidward, SpongeBob never leaves. He just stays there. And as a result of this, SpongeBob is mistaken for an actual doctor. And this goes way too far, with SpongeBob eventually becoming Squidward's surgeon. Yeah, poor Squidward. Now in the end, SpongeBob doesn't do a very good job, and this leaves Squidward looking very, well, not so handsome. But we're here to talk about mistakes, so yeah, let's do that. During this scene, where SpongeBob enters the operating room, one of the fish on the left is purple. However, when we see this fish again in the next scene, he's now just a completely different color. He isn't purple anymore, that's for sure, so definitely another mistake here.
Oh, yeah. This is the life. And best of all, there's no SpongeBob here to ruin it. Wait, no.
Oh, hi, everybody.
As I mentioned earlier, SpongeBob is a good person, and you know that this man is going to work or boating school on time every day. This dude's probably showing up early. So it's no surprise that SpongeBob has constantly won the Krusty Krab's Employee of the Month award. And we got an episode about this, titled, of course, Employee of the Month. Well, in this episode, SpongeBob has some competition for once, as Squidward also wants to win, thus leading to this scene, where they both pretty much try to kill each other just so that one of them can get to work first. Now, during one of their attempts, there is actually a mistake, as when SpongeBob and Squidward are shown dragging anchors, SpongeBob is not wearing his Krusty Krab hat. However, in the very next shot, literally like a couple seconds later, and it zooms in on him, he randomly has the hat now, and he wouldn't have been able to put it on because he was fighting with Squidward the whole time, so this was a bit of a continuity error. Our first Season 13 mistake can be found in the episode Say Ah. Now, this episode is all about Plankton, and other Bikini Bottomites thinking that he's cute and not taking him as seriously as he'd like to be taken. So much so that Plankton actually builds a giant robot just to punish anyone who says aw to him or calls him cute. It's kind of funny, as Plankton always wants to be accepted by everyone, and in this episode he's kind of being accepted by everyone, but he rejects it because he wants to be an evil bad guy. It's kind of funny. Anyways though, onto the mistake, it has to do with Incidental 6, as normally this incidental character has normal thin black feet. It's how he always looks. But for some reason in this episode, there are a few scenes where his feet are like rounded and they look like normal feet. It's really weird. Obviously not that big of a deal, but if you have an eye like a hawk like myself, you'll notice it. Here's a clip with audio.
All right, you brain-dead barnacles, drop those patties. Your sandwiches are coming with me.
Aww. So cute.
Huh?
I just want to pinch his face.
Let's be real, SpongeBob is the best fry cook in all of Bikini Bottom. As a matter of fact, he's the best employee at the Krusty Krab. People love this guy. But in the episode SpongeBob You're Fired, I mean, the episode title kind of reveals it, but SpongeBob gets fired, dude. It's crazy. He ends up having to go and work at all these other places. Here's some clips.
Perfect patty on a pristine plate and a squeaky clean Krusty Krab. Hey, Mr. Krabs, what's the good word?
Well, actually, SpongeBob, there's two words. And they're not very good. You're fired. What? It turns out that I'll save a whole nickel if I cut your salary.
It is so funny seeing SpongeBob work at these other places. Like, dude, go back to the Krusty Krab. It's where you belong. Anyways, though, let's get into the mistakes. That's what you guys are here for. Here is mistake number 1.
Okay, that's enough. It's closing time. You know, it just won't be the same around here without you. Bye-bye now. Sayonara. Good riddance. Man, is it gonna be sweet without that pest around?
I know any hardcore SpongeBob fan already caught what the mistake is, but here's the issue. When SpongeBob is forced out of the Krusty Krab by Squidward, Squidward is so happy. There are no tables inside the Krusty Krab. As we mentioned before, this is how the inside of the Krusty Krab looks, right? And there's tables. I mean, they've been there since the first episode, but there's no tables during this one scene, and just, yeah, really silly mistake. But yeah, that's probably going to do it for today.